Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 543. The Premier League Tides have turned. Hello, Big Chillians. Welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank. Turns over to Eddie. Eddie, how's it going? How's your weekend?
Yeah, it was eventful, obviously. Had the Masters, had some good Premier League action, had 2 Blackburn matches in the space of 4 days, so it's been eventful, but enjoyable.
The 2 Blackburn matches in 4 days was enjoyable?
Well, so we're recording this on Monday. They had the midday kickoff today and drew 2-2 with Huddersfield. They came back from 2-0 down. It was... The second half performance was excellent. And overall, I would say it's one of the most dominant Blackburn performances I've seen. But they just managed to get themselves... it got to the end. There was a moment at which Huddersfield had 2 touches in the Blackburn box and scored 2 goals. And, sometimes you just don't have the rub of the green, but it was enjoyable. And as I said, we spoke about it a few weeks ago. This Blackburn team this season, even if it ends up being an unsuccessful one from a promotion standpoint, I've enjoyed watching them. And sometimes as a supporter, that's all you can ask for. They've made this year of my life better. And that I cannot always say that about the teams and individuals who I get emotionally invested in.
Well, we'll have to wait and see in the next few weeks how this turns out, and we'll obviously get into an update as we get closer, because I'm sure they're not going to coast into a playoff run.
I mean, statistically, they have the hardest remaining matches of any team in the championship. So it's not looking, they've got a small gap to 7th, but you'd say if things go to form, they will not be making the playoffs. But I remain hopeful, but I am prepared for disappointment.
I guess we should, though, go into the Premier League, because we'll go back to the fact that I've been asking you 2 things all year, and one of your predictions the outcome seemed to favor your prediction, while the other one seems to about ready to knock your prediction out of the water. So which one would you want to start with?
Look, if we're going to do, are we really doing the Haaland update on a date? Because you got to remember, welcome obviously to our new listeners. I feel like I have to clarify every time. I was never a Haaland doubter. It's just, was he going to break the single season goal scoring record? I thought probably not. And my reasons for it were, I've said it a million times. I thought he would probably miss some time due to injury. And I thought City probably wouldn't be in a title race. And so at this stage of the season, he might even be rested for Premier League matches. Obviously, neither of those things have transpired. But so I think we can move on from that topic.
So you were wrong on 2 other predictions as well. Is that what you're saying? That he would get injured and that they'd be in cruise control.
I would never predict that he'd get injured, but I mean, the history of his career would, you expect him to miss some matches, and he's missed a few, but not enough. I say not enough. I don't want him to miss any. But the other thing, the more important thing is, yes, you've asked me throughout the season who will win the title, and I think the pendulum has firmly shifted in Manchester City's favor. I would be genuinely surprised from this position now if Arsenal win the Premier League. That felt like this is the weekend we will look back, and Easter weekend is the weekend that Arsenal lost the Premier League.
Yeah, they couldn't quite finish their Easter egg hunt.
No, yes, yeah. And that match against Liverpool, one of the best, possibly the best match of the season, one of the best matches in a really long time. Just super enjoyable to watch, end to end. Good football was played, particularly once Liverpool started to get back into it. Arsenal looked like they might run away with it a little bit in the first half, and then once Liverpool got their tails up, it really turned into a good match. But to be 2-0 up and to drop 2 points from Arsenal's perspective, it's just kind of inexcusable. Even though going to Anfield, not an easy place to go to, on paper it doesn't look like that bad of a result, but contextually it's not great. And I mean, they
Yeah.
required a couple of great saves at the end to even escape with that 1 point.
Yeah. And that was kind of what I was going to say as a takeaway is you can get a draw at Anfield and feel good about it. Not great, but you can walk out of there feeling good. I do not think they walked out of there at all feeling comfortable or confident. They were hanging on towards the end of that match. And you're right.
No.
There's a few really nice saves and a lot more opportunities in the last 30 for Liverpool than there were for Arsenal.
Oh, if there had been 5 more minutes, Liverpool win that match. And I mean, the Konate miss at the end, I mean, it's a great save. It's a combination of a miss and a save, but to not be able to bundle a ball in from a yard out is, you put more blame on the attacking player in that instance than you give credit to the goalkeeper. But the Ramsdale save from the deflected shot just before that was impressive. And look, who knows? Maybe I will be wrong, and maybe you'll look back on those saves and think those were the moments that won Arsenal the Premier League. It just,
that 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed it on previous episodes, cracks have been showing for them over the course of the last few weeks, and they are becoming wider and wider. And they just look vulnerable. Whereas City, just as we've seen from City in years past, it's the reverse. It's the snowball effect that's happening with City as this season comes towards an end. And they've got all this momentum and they look like this unstoppable freight train. And you look at City now, I can't see where they're dropping points. And whereas you look at the Arsenal and you kind of think, where do I feel totally certain when we're not dealing with teams right at the bottom of the table? Where am I totally certain that they'll pick up 3 points? And that seems weird to say because they've obviously been winning virtually all of their matches. So I know that the form table doesn't show as if they're struggling. It's just every match with a couple of exceptions. They concede a lot of goals. They kind of have these moments in matches where the match seems to be in the balance, even if they go on to win. And yeah, I just don't feel confident in them. And the interesting thing I'm sure every Arsenal fan will tell you right now, regardless of what happens in the title race, that this season will have been a success. But I think City are potentially 16 matches away from the treble, winning the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup. If they do that, no one will remember that Arsenal were the feisty team in the Premier League title race for 80, 90, 95, 99% of the season. In the same way that when we, a couple of years from now, no one will remember just how close Liverpool went to winning the Premier League on a couple of occasions. It will just be looking through the history books and seeing City won the Premier League. And, that's the thing that would scare me a little bit as an Arsenal fan is you might get so close and kind of get nothing from it. And you then look at what's happened to Liverpool over the course of this season. And if I were an Arsenal supporter, yes, they've got a lot of young, talented players. You can't compare their situation in their squad to what's going on at Anfield at the moment. But part of me would think it's almost, you see how close Liverpool were last season, and then now they're not even going to be in the top four. And I could see that happening with Arsenal next season as well. Because the stars have aligned for them to a certain degree in terms of their results, in terms of players being in perfect form, not having too many injuries. They don't have Champions League football, so they don't have that full burden of European fixtures that they will then have next season. If they were going to have this magical run, it was going to be this year, and next year they could just come back to earth with a bang.
Yeah, and in terms of remaining matches, I think you said it. Arsenal definitely have the tougher schedule and fixtures, and particularly their next two matches they should win. I mean, if they are going to finish atop, they have to win. They have to get 6 from their next 2. But then they have City on April 26th, which obviously that match will decide most of this, I think, going forward. But you have City, then followed by Chelsea, Newcastle, and Brighton. So that those are not easy matches at all. And you look at the reverse, City have, besides Arsenal, they have Chelsea, and that's a question mark. Like, are they a scary team to play right now? I don't know, but other than that, you're looking at maybe like Fulham. Like it's not very difficult for City right now.
Yeah, they've got the much better running.
Yeah.
Admittedly, you do have to throw in they've got the Champions League to deal with.
Yep.
So they're playing Bayern Munich tomorrow, and they've got additional fixtures. They will have, there is some, as big as their squad is, that will have an impact on them, and they just have more balls in the air to handle. But they
especially
certainly have.
I mean, you have looking at their schedule, you have Champions League the 19th, FA Cup the 22nd, and then Arsenal the 26th. So you're going to have 3 matches in the span of a week there, which I agree. You hopefully with Sheffield, they can, in the FA Cup, they can put some of their
Sheffield United,
their reserves in. But
no, that will be their B team against Sheffield United in the FA Cup semi-final, and their B team will be far too good for Sheffield United. And let's be honest, of all the competitions that they're in, they'll happily not win the FA Cup. There's no doubt about that. So I'm not, that is the one that they'll punt if they have to. But I don't think they're going to be too concerned about having to play an FA Cup semi-final around when they have to play Arsenal. That's, that may as well be treated like a friendly match almost.
And the odds, I guess, are in your favor, eh? They have now switched, and City is favored to win the league.
Slightly. Which they should be. And again, look, if Arsenal beat them, then suddenly everything changes and weird things can happen. And as we have discussed on previous episodes, as much as I say the City snowball effect and what we've seen from them in recent years, history prior to this whole period of dominance from City and Liverpool, history would tell you that down like in the final few matches of the Premier League, everyone slips up. So it wouldn't stun me if there's somewhere City drop points where you didn't expect them to. They've dropped points in unexpected places over the course of this season already, but you just think with the end in sight that they'll just have too much for pretty much everyone they play. They look so good at the moment. They're peaking at the right time. And that's in all sports. Peaking at the right moment is one of the best things that can happen to you. No one cares who the best team is in week 8 of the NFL, and this is the moment for City when they seem to be playing some of their best football of the season.
And on City, speaking of peaking right now, Kevin De Bruyne got his 100th assist, which was the fastest in Premier League history to get 100 assists. I was going to have this be my trivia question, but I feel like you probably already know who the other 4 players over 100 assists are.
I don't actually.
Wow. I think okay. So he is the 5th.
I think I might struggle with this one, to be honest with you.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now
I know I've done well in quizzes recently, but if I'm trying to think off the top of my head which players are candidates for 100 assists,
I thought for sure you had seen this.
No. I'll throw Ryan Giggs in.
Yes. Ryan Giggs leads. He's 162 assists in the Premier League. That's the record.
Yeah, I mean, just longevity makes that one an easy selection. Shoot. Who else am I going to include? Steven Gerrard?
No.
No. Give me the remainder of the names then, because I really don't think I'm going to be able to play.
Lampard, Rooney, and Fabregas.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, one of the all-time Premier League greats, and kind of underappreciated at times. It has to be said. I do think because of his lack of international success, I do think there's part of Kevin De Bruyne's career where he doesn't necessarily get the recognition that he always deserves. And I actually think it's one of the interesting elements of City as a whole. And they get credit because they kind of play really as a unit, but the individuals kind of get, until at least maybe this Haaland season is the exception, but the individuals kind of get lost in the team success. There's a lot of squad rotation at times, and they've got a lot of really good players. But when you kind of think about this City dynasty that we're probably in the midst of, most of it goes down to the unit. Whereas, you think of a lot of other great teams in the history of football, like the Barcelona period recently, right, was the Messi period. And, like Cristiano Ronaldo's Real Madrid teams. And City, it's just sort of, well, there's a lot of good players. And Aguero was important at times. Vincent Kompany was important at times. Kevin De Bruyne has been super important, but it's interesting. They don't have that kind of star man. Haaland might change that if he hangs around for long enough. I guess the other really big talking point from the Premier League this weekend, from that Liverpool Arsenal match, we obviously spoke a couple of times about Mitrovic and the general treatment of officials, and the roles were slightly reversed in that match, where you had linesmen appearing to elbow Robertson in the face. The linesman has now been suspended pending investigation. It's kind of, I think the football community is pretty divided. I'm of the opinion that I just think officials get so poorly treated that I don't blame them for elbowing someone in the face. It doesn't bother me at all. And I find in particular Robertson to be particularly, I think he's very mouthy, and he's one of those players who's often right around the official and probably saying things in ways that cannot be repeated on television. So I kind of feel like he deserves it. And I also wasn't super impressed by his reaction to it. Like, it's not as if he got some haymaker from Lennox Lewis, right? So I get that the linesman has to be suspended, but I hope that this doesn't cause any long-term issues for his career, because I kind of get where he's coming from.
It's tough. I mean, you're an official. Like, you have to be able to, you have to be the better person, I think, in all situations, unless it's like a life or death situation and you're being attacked and defending for your life, then yes. But I think you always have to rise above how petty a player can be. So I don't love it. I think it
I don't
was
say I love it.
highly exaggerated. I will say that. But I don't love it. I don't think as an official you should ever be, pushing someone away or shut. Like, it's tough because I guess officials do kind of, push a player away when they're talking, but they're kind of just putting their hands out there. They're not actively trying to push them. So it was made to look worse than it was.
I certainly don't love it. I'm not condoning it. I don't want the, Premier League Referees Association to kind of say this is the standard of behavior we expect now. But, given the level of abuse that they receive and just the way people crowd around them, I don't think you should have he should be locked up for, I'm sure he instantly regretted it. But, I can kind of get you getting a little crowded by someone who's yapping on your shoulder, and you just kind of throw the elbow back there and you're not putting too much thought into it. And unfortunately, Robertson's not the tallest guy in the world, so that throwback of the elbow goes towards the face. If it's been Virgil van Dijk, it goes in his chest, and it's probably not even a story, really. But, I don't think it was malicious. Like, I don't think he thought, I'm going to knock Andy Robertson out right now. But
yeah, I don't either. But the elbow is always a bad choice. For some reason, I think the elbow to me is a more aggressive act than if you're just pushing someone. Like if you're pushing someone with your hand, it's kind of like a get out of here. But an elbow is kind of like when you want to give someone the business a little bit, you give them a little bit of an elbow. It's a more
Yeah.
of like, I think, an aggressive
Oh yeah.
maneuver.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
100%.
what really I think hurts him at the end.
Yeah, no, if it had just been a push,
Yeah, no
again, I
official
think
should ever
it's
be
the
trying to elbow someone or like kick
no,
someone. Like those are more like fight maneuvers.
yeah, and I mean maybe that's our way too. We rarely talk about the NBA, but one of the big stories out of this weekend was Rudy Gobert, the center for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're calling it a punch towards his teammate during a timeout. I think it's a strong push to the shoulder. I think punch is. I don't know how you call that a punch necessarily,
No,
but
see, but you're
still,
not reading. This is the NBA, Eddie. In NBA eyes, that is like a haymaker. That is a Mike Tyson knockout haymaker in the NBA eyes.
you're not wrong. And again, a good opportunity to say, I know we've had some new listeners come on board as a result of some of the interviews we've done recently. Do follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I had a little bit of a discussion about the Rudy Gobert incident, and I accepted to call it an NBA punch. I think that's the truest description of what it is because fundamentally he does clearly go for the shoulder, and I don't think people. I've never seen someone try and punch someone in the shoulder
Hey,
as an
did you
aggressive
ever try and
move.
take a jump shot with a bum shoulder? He was going for it.
It's
He was trying
true,
to ruin his career. That's a career
but
ender.
it will be. Obviously, that was the final game of the regular season. The Minnesota Timberwolves have a play-in game, so one game winner takes all to try and get into the playoffs against the LA Lakers tomorrow. It will be interesting to see then how they handle the Rudy Gobert situation. I think under any other circumstances, he's suspended by the team, but now do you kind of limit yourselves? He's not, he's an important player for them. Do you go into a playoff game and say, well, we're not going to let you play. This might hurt us, but we have to enforce team rules here.
Yeah, it's always a tough one too because I think about in these situations when teams are practicing, and especially the NFL is a prime example. There are a lot of scuffles amongst teammates during practice. And I guess the difference here is you're supposed to be on the same team. You're not going against each other in a game. But I mean, they're big personalities, and everyone wants to be the hero and do their part. And sometimes people think they aren't doing enough, and so I don't see it more than athletes having high emotions and low inability to like hold in those emotions.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't see it as that egregious of an act.
No, I think I agree with you, and I mean you're right. Like, one of the most famous stories from the NBA in the 1990s was Michael Jordan punching Steve Kerr in a practice, and everyone kind of moved on from that. But had that happened in a game, it's probably a more serious incident. But yeah, and also people are again, it wasn't like it was a full blown fight. I almost judged the reaction of the other players more than I judged the initial, because there were more people who almost wanted it to evolve into or devolve, I suppose, into a full on fight. And to me, that's almost worse than the initial, just a bit of aggression coming out because you got a
Yeah.
teammate, and all reports show not talking in necessarily the most polite way to his colleagues. So yeah, I think again, if I were the Timberwolves, I'd be get everyone to apologize. And I also think if you suspend him, it just becomes a bigger and bigger story. Just get him to play, and the news cycle will move on.
Yeah. Apologize, chalk it up to high emotions, and let's move on.
But speaking of, I got one more NBA
Oh,
related Twitter discussion where on a couple of occasions I have got us into some heated social media debates with people, usually with I don't mean this dismissively, but kind of nobodies, right? Just the internet. Um, Last night, I got into several quite
with
heated exchange
Stephen A. Smith.
with former NBA player Andrew Bogut,
Oh,
who
okay.
who has turned himself into something of a I think he'd call himself an unfiltered media presence. I think people
Okay.
can maybe understand everything that is implied by the usage of the term unfiltered. But, he's a big anti vaxxer. He's very critical. He seems to be, if you follow him on social media, I think he thinks the most pressing concern for modern day society is the risk of trans athletes. Now, I don't want us to wade into those debates, but Andrew Bogut is seriously concerned about the impact this could have on our society. And he and I got into a little bit of a discussion about, I don't know if you saw, but Twitter made the decision to label some news media outlets, including NPR, and the BBC, that receive public funding. They labeled them as government affiliated media. Originally, I think they called them government sponsored media, and then they've kind of softened the term. Again, we're not a political podcast. I don't love it because I think you blur the lines then between official, news outlets that are controlled by a government versus some that receive public funding. I think there's a huge difference there between the two. But yeah, he and I got into a big discussion about this, and I was then attacked, or I say the Big Chill podcast was attacked by his wave of supporters who level of insults that you receive when you're getting attacked by people on Twitter. Not not the most sophisticated when it comes to how they target you. And it's a shame because, we once got called the Big Shill podcast, and I actually thought that was at least reasonably clever. No one came up with anything remotely approaching that level of sophistication.
I love how I just get lumped into your unable to sleep ramblings through Twitter at 4 a.m. Now I'm just a part of it by being part of this podcast because you no longer have your own Twitter. You just tweet on behalf of the Big Chill podcast. Great.
Yeah, it's both of us. And I just vaguely use I or we interchangeably. So yeah, they don't know whether it's me. They don't know whether it's you, unless, of course, they listen to the podcast. But Andrew Bogut did say that he hopes that our 4 listeners enjoy our show. So that's an endorsement from Andrew Bogut.
Nice.
I told him he should check it out because we receive no government funding. So we're just the kind of media outlet he should want to listen to.
That was the worst insult?
Oh, no. I mean, there's a lot of snowflakes that were thrown around. Most of them got called simps quite a lot. Told to cry.
Okay.
It was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of comments that got thrown our way. Just got called stupid. That was pretty common theme. Communists. I called that a few times, which was interesting. I don't think I said anything. Didn't really say anything vaguely political, to be perfectly honest with you. Intellectual spastics. That was, I guess, kind of a good one.
It's a good pub quiz name.
Yeah, yes. Maybe we should rename the podcast the Intellectual Spastics. But yeah, it was quite interesting. And it's like being on the schoolyard. Like, it's very childish name calling, but it's as if they feel like they're really coming up with something clever. And I didn't fire back with anything remotely insulting. I'm always very careful in those situations. But eventually, Andrew Bogut told me that he would no longer engage with us because of the name calling, but implying that it was us that was doing it.
Oh,
or me, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, Andrew Bogut, not a fan of the Big Chill podcast.
Well, at least he's no longer engaging.
Well, he is, actually. He kept going after that, but...
Oh, did he?
I mean, I think, I'll say this. He probably will never listen to it, but we got him hooked on Twitter. I think I can get Andrew Bogut to respond whenever I want now. How many times can you say that about a former NBA champion? Just his phone will see a notification and he'll be right back at us.
Wonderful.
There you go.
We might have to have you relinquish your Twitter ramblings.
Hey, at least someone's putting it. Again, look, again, another great reason to follow us on social media, because you will occasionally get to just sit back and watch some interesting Twitter exchanges, and maybe with surprising celebrities.
I would say he would, if he listened, he'd be all over you for being anti-American, but he is Australian, so I don't know if he's also. Maybe this is a common bond you guys could have. Maybe you're both anti-American.
It's true. We got to try. Yeah, we should try and find some common ground at some
Yeah,
point.
that could be
We'll
it.
try and get. Maybe we'll try and get him on for a little love session, and so we can become best pals. But I mean, I guess should we? The big sports story of the weekend was the Masters. Obviously,
Yeah.
should we witnessed Brooks Koepka have one of the biggest meltdowns on a Sunday at a major in recent time. Although, today I thought about it. I was trying to think, what have there been worse? And I went back and looked, and there have been worse actually. And it's interesting. It's just from recent history. It's interesting how quickly you forget these Sunday meltdowns. You had 2016 at the Masters when Spieth was 5 shots ahead with 9 holes to play and fell apart. I mean, if we
Is that the
just
one
isolate
Garcia won?
that was 20. No, I think that was the English guy, Hatton, not Hatton. Garcia was afterwards.
Ricky Hatton? I don't think he won the
No,
Masters, just US Open.
2011 at the Masters as well. McIlroy had a 4-shot lead at the start of the final round and blew it. So, you've got in the last 10, 11 years, you've got some big Masters collapses. And then there's a few others. Dustin Johnson at the 2015 US Open, where he had a relatively easy putt to win it, and didn't. But yeah, it was still, in the end, I felt, I don't want to use the term pathetic, like to insult Brooks Koepka, because I don't mean it in that sense, but it kind of was pathetic to watch just him. Jon Rahm in the end has won comfortably, and he played good golf. But at the same time, Jon Rahm didn't do anything spectacular to win. He just didn't mess up. And Brooks Koepka did everything possible to give away his lead and then take himself out of contention and take all pressure off Jon Rahm down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, Rahm shot 3 under, which is a good score, but it's nothing crazy. It's not like Spieth and Mickelson, who are shooting like 7 under.
Yeah.
Mickelson, who
No, there were some
lowest round ever recorded for someone over 50.
Yeah, there were low scores on the day. Like, it was
Yeah.
the conditions were perfect. Yes, there were some tough pin positions, but fundamentally, like, there were birdies to be had.
Yeah.
So for Koepka to finish 3 over on the round, it was, and then you tie it. You kind of had to add in, as part of that Sunday experience, him finishing off his round 3 on Sunday. He wasn't spectacular in that either. So it just made the whole image look worse.
Yeah, and we talked off podcast about maybe some of the reasons for this, and I kind of said maybe it's because Liv only has 3 rounds of golf. They don't do a 4th round, so maybe Koepka got tired. Maybe, but you look at Mickelson, who's 20, 30 years older than him, and he was able to crush it in the 4th round, right?
Yeah,
but again, Koepka has had injuries in the past, so maybe, and he's bigger, and I know that sounds dumb, but I think when you are a bigger guy and that extra round of walking the course and having to play and swing as hard as he swings, maybe that did get to him for the 4th round. I mean, he doesn't think so. He thinks it's The only comment he had was the tremendously slow play, which was an issue and was quite annoying, and I'll give him that.
Yeah,
But
Patrick
Rahm also
Kentley.
had it.
Yeah, they both had to deal with it. Patrick Kentley, in the group in front, his round took 4.5 hours,
Yeah.
which is just embarrassingly slow.
I mean, did you see
And
at points Hovland was like playing as Cantley was still walking to the green? There was like two
yeah,
holes towards the end where Hovland was just like playing shots as who he was, as partner with at the time.
I also you had the shots of Rahm and Koepka like sitting on a bench waiting to tee off, and I don't know if I've ever seen that in a professional golf tournament before. Like you'll occasionally see them standing and waiting for a second. Obviously, there's plenty of moments in a tournament where they have to wait for the group in front to advance a bit, or on a par three, they have to wait for them to finish up. But that doesn't usually extend to a moment where they actually sit down. Like, it's a little bit of standing around, a couple of extra practice swings, a couple of exchanges between them to actually, it made it look so amateurish to have them. I mean, I don't, as stupid as it sounds, but to just see them sitting there like you or I would if we were out on a playing around, and you're like, oh, the group in front's kind of slow. I guess we'll sit here and eat our sandwiches for a second. Like that's, I don't know, it was kind of strange. But yeah, again, he didn't have, because he can't really blame anything because, as you said, Jon Rahm had to deal with exactly the same conditions that he
Yeah.
did. I think the 3 round thing doesn't make too much sense. It's not like he's been gone from a 4 round experience for that long. The one thing I guess you could say is, and I think this is the people have spoken about this being a good weekend for Liv because there were a number of Liv players who performed well. I don't think it really matters because the players who performed well from the Live Golf Tour are all recognized good golfers. It's not like some unknown player from the Live Tour suddenly produced some extraordinary performance in a major. But perhaps from Kepka's perspective, not being tested in that same intensity that you might face on the PGA Tour, just because the Live doesn't have that. Maybe you just feel that extra bit of nerves, that little bit of extra rustiness situationally that Jon Rahm's had a number of recent tournaments where it's been tight down the stretch and he's kind of had to go through that process. And yes, Kepka won last week on the Live Tour in a fairly close contest, but it's just not the same pressure because you got that weird team
No.
element and everything's more
Yeah.
relaxed, as you spoke about from your experience.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that's part of it. Even when it's close competition, who are the other competitors? A lot of more often than not, it's not going to be a top 10 player. Whereas in the PGA Tour, it most likely is going to be another top 10 player that's, pushing for the final round with you.
Yeah, and you just have to think, does he care anyway? Like, does he care if he wins the Live event in Tucson or not? He's already got the massive paycheck. That team is doing well enough that he's going to pick up extra money over the course of the year. Like, so whether you win or finish third or finish eighth or finish ninth, like, do you ultimately care? Probably not. Whereas you have to care when you're in the Masters. Like, it's too significant to not. But it was it was a little bit of a shame. We spoke going into it, obviously, that the one thing we wanted was a close final round. And for 12, 13 holes on Sunday, you got that. But then it just became a procession for Jon Rahm. Like, it became clear, oh, unless he collapses, and I mean more physically than anything else in these final 3 or 4 holes. Like, he just has to finish at this point. Like, it'd be, and it gets so. I've got a couple. I know you have some Masters gripes. I've got a couple.
Oof.
I'm going to start with one, which is it's less of a Masters gripe, and this could piss off the golf community. One of the things that annoys me, I think amateur golfers should get prize money. I know that there's people be like, well, then they should lose their amateur status and all that. But like, Goner, that these aren't real amateurs, right? They are getting supplied equipment, they're getting deals, they're playing in college, they might have their NIL deals. Like, we're not talking about true amateurs in any respect here. And I think if you play in a tournament like this, you should be eligible to receive prize money. It's not like you're signing a contract. I think to me, you maintain amateur status if you're not kind of signing consistent, true professional terms. So that's just with Sam Bennett's nice performance over the weekend, who was at one point looked like he was in the running to win it. I just feel like it's sort of stupid that he doesn't get to win any money from his good Masters performance.
Well, I guess the issue would be for college eligibility.
But we got NIL deals. We got people making millions of dollars
but what
a
you
year.
don't have is you don't have college basketball players who, go in the summer and go play in the European League for a couple 100,000 and come back and play more college. You don't have that.
But that's not feasible, right? So golf is kind of unique in that it allows this possibility of playing in some of the most prestigious professional events whilst being a college player. Like there's, I guess maybe the closest thing you could come to it is athletics, track and field events and stuff where you could be a collegiate athlete and be competing on the kind of
And they
world
do.
scene. And I think the same, you should be able to get, if you turn up to a track event and in the summer and win, like if you go to the Olympics, it'd be like going to the Olympics almost and be like, well, we're not even going to give you your gold medal because that's worth money, right? Like that would be, you'd no longer be an amateur if we give you that, because you could sell it. I think that's part of it where, I don't know. As I said, I mean, look, I'm not losing sleep over this, but it just kind of bothers me.
No, I get it. I understand. What about a compromise where it gets put in a bank account and when he turns professional, he gets the money?
Yeah, that would be cool. Gets put in escrow in our trust for him for a while. Yeah. Yeah, that would be fun. There you go. That could be a perfect solution to it of like, okay, technically he doesn't get it now, but if he never turns professional, he'll never get this money.
Yeah.
There
I don't
you
know
go.
why he would never turn professional, but
just a purist. Just wants to rack up major wins. He'll just be like, guys, I'm working at McDonald's, but I also have $700 million waiting for me if I ever decide to get my card, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah, my biggest gripe, we've talked about this a lot off podcast, and it's been, I think, a gripe of many people on many platforms, is the TV rights and just what they're airing and when they're airing it. I don't understand in today's age where everything is televised, how you do not have every shot of every player televised. Like not even every shot of every player, but the full round televised in some capacity, whether it's the last 4 hours are on television, and if you want to watch the first 3 hours, you have to be some part of a subscription, whether that's to ESPN Plus or to masters.com even. If you told me you had to pay $10 and you could watch all the rounds the whole time from the first tee off to the last tee off versus being able to watch the last 3 hours of coverage on your television, I would pay the $10 and do it, like whatever. But what's crazy is that they actually do film it. They just don't show it. Like that to me is even crazier. They are doing it because there was a point where they were showing coverage that they didn't ever air. So they have the cameras there and they're filming it, but they're just not showing it. That's ridiculous. And this is supposed to be like this is the granddaddy of them all, of golf, and they're not even going to show all of it when they have the ability to do so. It was mind-boggling to me that for rounds, especially even still at rounds 3 and 4, you had to watch either the featured groups, which was like always either Jordan Spieth or Tiger Woods, because that's what America's obsessed with. So you had to watch them and whoever they were playing with, or you could watch the Amen Corner holes 14, 15, or 16. And I think they're the one we could even watch holes like 2, 3, or 4. But you couldn't just do one where you watched everybody. Like, come on. Just play the whole damn coverage.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And particularly in this rain-delayed, weather-affected weekend tournaments, you were missing. And the mind, like you could have been missing a potentially Masters winning round from somebody because you could, had a number of players in the mix and you were missing a sizable chunk of their round. So yeah, it's strange, but I mean, look, it wasn't until 2001, 2002 that they even showed the front nine at Augusta. So this is, they just have this weird, it's when they try
Eh,
and maintain this tradition, they do it sometimes in bizarre ways.
but I don't get it.
Why?
What? Yeah, because they want people to come live. Like that doesn't make sense
I
because it's so
guess.
difficult to get a ticket. You have to be in a lottery, so it's not as if they're not selling out.
And I would actually respect that more if they'd once they opened, like once you've decided, okay, we're going to show the front nine will be shown, then just show it all. Because if there had been a little bit of mystique of like no cameras and no phones and stuff allowed, and on top of it, we don't record the front nine. So you
That's
just,
crazy.
it would be crazy, but at least then it'd be like, what does the front nine of Augusta look like? And the only way you could hear about it is by people describing it. I think it was stupid, but I could at least get it. There would just be this mystery. But once it's like, oh, I know exactly what they're doing, I just can't see it because you have weird hours. And the fact that the thing that blows my mind is you have moments when there's live coverage. Like CBS is showing it, Sky Sports is showing it, but they can't actually show the golf. So you're just watching Nick Faldo and other people
Yeah.
sit in a room talking live, and the golf is happening, a mile
Yep.
behind them somewhere, but they can't show it to you.
Well, what was crazy too is you would be watching the featured groups thing, like on Friday or Saturday, and they'd say, "Oh, Brooks Koepka just made a nice eagle and he's moved four up. We can't show you it, but we can tell you it just happened, and we saw it happen because we can see it, but we can't show it to you." Like, are you kidding me? Come on. This is just some of the things the Masters does. I think is just to be different, and it's dumb.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do not disagree with you.
And I mean, like, the other thing too is, we were talking about this as well. I think you and I, even though I was watching CBS and you were watching Sky, we were getting the exact same video footage. So the Masters must control the footage, or
Oh yeah,
someone,
well,
right? Which is crazy because they're deciding who to even show. Because there was a point where they kept showing Fred Couples, who was 7 over, and I had to watch every shot Fred
yeah.
Couples took.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell do
Here's
I
what
care? What am I
here's
watching to see if he's going to die at mid putt? Is that what I'm looking for?
here's what bothered me with the Fred Couples thing. It's not live, right? Like when they're cutting to Fred Couples, it's happened 30
Yeah,
seconds to 5 minutes ago. So they know the outcome. Don't show me a Fred Couple. He's 7 over par. Don't show me a Fred Couples birdie putt that he then misses and we watch him tap in.
yeah,
Like it's not even, oh, maybe he will make it. He's not made it. So why show it to me? Why go, hey, just so you must see here that Fred Couples missed a 8-foot birdie putt. You gotta see it. And he's still 7 under. And if he can somehow in these final 3 holes hit 3 consecutive holes in one, he still wouldn't be in the running to win the Masters. Like that's
I didn't get it. And I also made the comment that they, like, apparently they love Jordan Spieth, and it so happened Spieth ended up having an amazing round, and it was worth showing. But there was a point where Spieth was 12, 13 shots back, and they're showing him like hit a second shot on a layup in a par five, and it's like, why are you showing me this? I don't need to see Jordan Spieth lay up on a par five.
yeah. No, it's the players that they choose to cover relentlessly, and like we discussed it, Victor Hovland, who is genuinely in contention, barely being shown. We were missing entire holes of Victor Hovland's, and this was after he kind of made a charge towards the
Yep.
back end of his third round and was doing okay at the start of his fourth round, was 3 shots off the lead,
Yeah.
and you're not. Instead, you're watching Jordan Spieth.
Yeah. And there was even a point where on one of the par fives, he had hit it into the bunker and then had to like just chip out like 30 yards. And then on the par five on his third shot, he took a wood and drove it to the green. And they were like, oh, he's going to have that for eagle. Like, oh, he could move right back in. And then, at least this is the American broadcast. And then about 30 seconds later, they were like, oh, wait, I think that wasn't his second shot. It was his third.
Yes.
I don't know why it was his third, but it was. It's like, yeah, because you don't fucking show it. Because
Yeah.
instead, I'm watching Fred Couples tap in a double bogey.
Yeah. Now it's a slightly frustrating experience, but it was nice to see Jon Rahm win. I think he kind of came into this tournament right with the big three of Rahm, Scheffler, McIlroy. McIlroy obviously was never in it, missed the cut. Scheffler was never seriously in it, and then Jon Rahm was always there or thereabouts. Kind of gives Jon Rahm the edge, maybe, in the discussion of who the best golfer in the world at the moment is. It takes him to world number one in the rankings, but I don't know how meaningful that necessarily is, and kind of the like title belt concept. But I'd say even though it's only his second major, I think he did as a result become the first European to have won the US Open and the Masters. That surprises me. Like you just feel like there must be many more, but it seems like the Europeans either win the US Open like Rory McIlroy or win the Masters like Nick Faldo, but don't manage to do both. So puts Rahm in unique territory. But yeah, it's good to see. And then hopefully we get, some. The thing that I hope now is you get a couple more majors where we get to see two of those big three kind of go toe to toe with each other. Because you don't want to keep seeing like, oh, Scheffler won this one, Rahm missed the cut, McIlroy was 7 back, and then next one, McIlroy won this one, Scheffler missed the cut, Rahm was 5 back. You want to see it to really feel like a rivalry develops amongst at least two of them. We need to have them final pairing at some point, really going straight at it head to head.
Yeah, that'd be cool. The last Masters fact I have is I don't know if you saw the merchandise fact of what they sell at the Masters. Did you see this?
No, I didn't see anything relating to that.
So they just redid the like clubhouse section where they sell all of the Masters related apparel. It's like this brand new huge room now that they can sell. So they did $70 million in sales this weekend. That for the week, sorry, for the whole week. So 10 million a day, and they're open 10 hours a day, which means they were selling $1 million worth of Masters apparel an hour. That is crazy to think about how much merchandise they're going through, and how much they must have in stock for that week is crazy, and how overpriced most of the stuff probably is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where they're smart, right? Because the only place you can buy Masters stuff is at the Masters. Like they don't sell anything online.
Nope.
Like that's where they are kind of intelligent. But yeah, I will say, I mean, when I went to the Ryder Cup too, you just see like they just had a huge 10, and they must have been churning out. I mean, I don't know what the turnover was there, but it's probably somewhat comparable. And yeah, people just snapping up €150, $150 polos, that are it's just a basic Nike polo with a badge stuck on it, and people, I must have it. I must have it so that I can go and play a round of golf and people know that I went to the Masters. Because once they see that hat or that T-shirt or that polo or that, windbreaker, they'll know I went to Augusta.
Didn't you get a shirt from the Ryder Cup, Eddie?
I did, but it's different, right? Because no, but I mean, that's different because you can buy a Ryder Cup shirt online. So that doesn't mean like someone sees you in a Ryder Cup shirt, they don't necessarily instantly think you went to the Ryder Cup. But the Augusta thing, it's true. Whenever I've been around someone who has it, you do have to say to them like, "Oh, you've been to the Masters." Like it does get people into awkward situations, because I had one person who I asked, and then it was like, no, I had a friend who went to the Masters. They bought this for me, which is still, I mean, it's cool, right? I guess, but it doesn't make it, you're setting yourself up for just disappointing the people who are seeing it. But then maybe moving away from the Masters and maybe back to social media. I don't know if you saw a little bit of NFL talk with the NFL draft not too far away. There's a little bit of social media heat in the direction of Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. Levis, not Levi's, Levis. Did you see any of this? He has two
No.
strange
What's
food
he got?
food
A,
food habits.
oh, okay.
So he eats bananas without peeling the skins. So he literally just bites bananas.
But does he actually eat the skin or he spits the skin out?
No, he eats everything. He just eats the whole thing.
Oh boy.
Doesn't peel it. Just and these two things, the bananas only came to light because he's recorded himself eating them. Like it's so this is on his own social media where and not as a prank. And he also puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
Oh. I mean, I've
and,
heard of mayo on watermelon, but mayo and coffee, that's
and
just.
it's not like a little squirt. He puts a couple teaspoons of mayonnaise in his coffee, stirs it in.
Well, I mean, you have the people who put butter in their coffee, but mayo
It's
is
not.
egg based. It's egg and oil based, and that's just a little weird.
Yeah, I would have expected it to sort of separate more than it does,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. It kind of stirs in when you see him do it. It's a
And
little
what's the
lumpy.
reasoning?
He just likes it. Do you need a reason?
Yeah, has he tried
I mean
oat milk or something?
I mean this genuinely, and I'm not trying to say this for the dumb first take discussion topic. Would you draft someone who puts mayonnaise in their coffee? Like, I don't think I would hire, if I interviewed someone for a job and I said to them, do you want like coffee or tea or water? And they said, yeah, coffee, please. And then asked for some mayonnaise and proceeded to put mayonnaise in and stir it. I don't think they're getting that job. No matter how qualified or impressive they are in every other aspect, I think I would instantly see that as such a huge red flag that I would assume there's more weird stuff to come. And same when you're talking about having a quarterback who's going to be the leader of your team, kind of drive the chemistry and the, you know, invite the, that culture, to think that that guy is also putting mayonnaise in his coffee. I don't think I would trust it.
I mean, what's he scoring on the Wonderlic test?
Who knows? Might not, they might not. They may have seen him put the mayonnaise in the coffee. They didn't even give him the Wonderlic test. They were like, "We don't even have to bother with this."
I don't. I don't think I care. There could be a lot worse things that he could do that would stop me from drafting him. But athletes are weird, especially nowadays. I mean, I, I bet you if you asked around, there are just as weird things going on in the NFL right now with athletes. I mean, look at Tom Brady. I mean, his eating habits are almost just as crazy, and he's a goat. Maybe that's what you're getting. Maybe you need crazy eating habits.
No, his are weird and difficult, and he has the eating habits of a rich asshole who can make really selective decisions because they can afford any food that they want and they don't have to prepare it themselves.
Well, maybe Will Levis has the choice of a poor asshole where
He does.
he has to eat the rind of a banana because he can't afford two bananas, and he has to use mayo because milk's too expensive. Maybe
Here's the
that's the
thing: is
difference.
the banana bit I can overlook because I bet you there's some nutritional benefit. I don't think that's why he's doing it, but I bet you if someone would tell you, actually, the peel of a banana has a ton of nutrients in it, and this actually is kind of smart. Like, I don't think that's why he's doing it, but
No,
I
there
bet you
definitely
someone,
is. I know for a fact there is because I know there's been studies that have taken the peel and like made it into a powder
yeah.
because it's like
So
high in antioxidants and stuff and fibers.
again, I don't think that's why he's doing it, but I can at least overlook that. Like, but there's not a benefit to putting mayonnaise in your coffee. Like, mayonnaise isn't healthy to start with. Coffee isn't particularly healthy, right? So you're combining two things that you don't need.
Well, let's not trash coffee.
I'm not trashing it. I'm just saying you don't go, well, the cornerstone of a healthy diet is a cup of coffee. You know, like,
No, but you do say a cup of coffee with mayo.
yeah, that pushes it over the edge. But yeah,
I would
that's
like to know why. Like, does it? I'm kind of almost interested to see what it tastes like. Does it make it smoother? Does it like? Is it kind of like milk? Does it make it richer? Is it for the mouthfeel because of the oils?
so he has gone on he's on record saying why this happened. And he said it started as it was he and his girlfriend before a game on a Friday. They got their coffees. There was no cream, no sugar, but just a bottle of mayonnaise. She made a joke saying, "Do you think people are supposed to put this in their coffee?" And he said, "Maybe, let's try it out." And then he liked it.
Oh, the things we do for love.
I mean, yeah, it would be an issue for me. I would, as I said, I don't think I'm hiring that guy. Now, a little bit of other NBA talk quickly with the playoffs coming. And there's been a huge debate over the course of this season as to who the MVP would be. And some of it got a little bit controversial with some racial discussion with Embiid versus Jokic and some accusations that some members of the media were racist for wanting to vote for Jokic as a white player over Embiid. Uh, Neither of those players really commented on that discussion. However, Embiid recently was asked how he became such a reliable mid-range shooter and also has a pretty good shot from three-point range, unusual certainly historically for a big man. And he said, "So I'm chilling one night and I go on YouTube and I'm thinking about I'm going to figure this shooting thing out, and I go to the search box and I type in how to shoot three-pointers. I say nah. How to shoot good form? I say nah." And then the light bulb went off, man.
He
I
says
typed
what?
in what?
He says nah,
No, that's what he
or
says.
no.
It's literally nah, is the verbatim quote. And then he said, then the light bulb went off, man. I typed in the magic words, white people shooting three-pointers. And now I'm fine with that. We always talk about how, and he said, listen, I know it's a stereotype, but have you ever seen a normal 30-year-old white guy shoot a three-pointer? That elbow is tucked, the knees are bent, the follow through is perfect. Always. You know, in America, there's always an older white guy wearing Everlast sweat shorts at the court. That guy, always a problem. His jumper is always wet. And I get it, but I would be interested. It's one of those interesting moments, right? Where you can say that and everyone kind of laughs. It's a little bit funny. If you had all reversed that with someone being like, I searched for black people doing this, Asian people doing this, and that's how I became good, your career is over.
Yeah, very true. Not much more to comment there.
And there's good reason for that. I'm not trying to say, oh, why can't we say it too? I'm not, that's not my point. But it just is interesting that you can have an NBA player saying that and everyone just thinks amusing anecdote versus career ending comment.
I mean, also though, what disrespect to a lot of black three pointers, 3-point shooters.
Shooters. I mean,
Three-pointers. I
I
mean,
mean, look, yeah,
Reggie Miller, Steph Curry. You know, like these are two of the greatest of all time.
yeah. I mean, well, look, probably the two greatest shooters of all time are Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. I mean, both mixed race, but yeah, you certainly not white guys. And then there's a host of other, but you get what he's saying. It's like when you watch March Madness, and it's one of those things you always say, like down the stretch, a guy's getting fouled just on immediate take. Who do you want going to the foul line? You probably want the scrawny white kid who's only there because he's shot a million free throws before, versus the clearly more athletically gifted person who might be a better basketball player. Anyway, I'm going to not get myself canceled.
Wow, we definitely might have to take away your Twitter privileges.
Or we're going to see a huge surge. Yeah, on that, anything else from the world of sport? I know we got maybe a quick Ted Lasso catch up to do from the most recent episode. Oh, there's a look of panic in your eyes. Have you
I
not
don't know if
watched
I've.
Ted Lasso?
Oh, I did. I think I did. It was a
But
while ago.
yeah, we're nearly a week old now. But
Yes.
anything else from sport that you want to discuss?
Um, Not that I can think of. I know we don't talk about hockey, but Connor McDavid had 150 points, first time since Mario Lemieux in '95, so almost 30 years.
Cool. But yeah, Ted Lasso then. Guess we can spoiler alert. If you have not watched the most recent episode of Ted Lasso, what you are about to hear may spoil that episode if you intend on watching it in the future. We'll keep it pretty brief, I guess.
It's not a good sign that I can't ever remember what the episode was really about.
I'll give the quick rundown and then you can give.
Okay.
It was the episode that was all lined up for AFC Richmond against West Ham. You know, everyone dealing with their feelings going into this, resentment coming back, some feelings of guilt. How would the bridges be? Would they be continued to be burnt? Would they be rebuilt? And in the end, the match did not go well for AFC Richmond. A comically embarrassing defeat with unclear how many players sent off. I think it was minimum 3, possibly 4. Just
Who knows?
yeah, devolved into just a joke of a football match, and yeah, and seemingly the thing that bothered me a little bit about it, we don't have to go into, but the fact that then afterwards it was like, uh-oh, the season now is in peril. This is one match. They are in the top 4 in the Premier League as a newly promoted side. I don't think there would be too much cause for concern just on the basis of one bad performance.
Yeah. No, I agree. I what I'm just not liking about this is I don't like the way they have Nate portrayed. There is no it's not, it's so unrealistic how in one scene he's spitting against the floor and then ripping into Ted Lasso and how much he hates him, and then 2 weeks later he genuinely feels like he wants to like apologize and make amends. Like it's not that black. Like they're making it so drastic on both ends that this isn't a real human anymore. He's like a cartoon.
Yeah, also, are West Ham paying him? Because he had the whole thing with the car, which I can get. You don't instantly buy yourself a new car, and there are plenty of, like, N'Golo Kante famously was driving an old car for ages as a Leicester and Chelsea player. So there's people who just don't care about cars and not something they're going to upgrade. So that I can overlook. But he's also still in this same dingy apartment. When they cut to the scene of him like playing Subbuteo, preparing for it, like maybe even living with his parents almost. This guy, even if he's a poorly paid Premier League manager, he's on a fairly big salary.
Yeah, Ted Lasso's got a nice place.
Well, kind of. Even Ted Lasso's apartment is a little. I mean, Ted Lasso's living in I guess a 2-bedroom apartment because his son comes and stays with him, but like a very
I think it's nice.
don't get me wrong. If you or I were offered that apartment in Richmond, a nice area, yeah, that's not a cheap apartment, but that's like a normal person nice apartment. Again, he's a Premier League manager, former college coach, head coach. So he's been earning good money for a while. You'd think he'd be in something a little bit nicer.
And here's another one I have. Why is he picking up the lunches for his staff? He's an absolute prick.
Yeah, that's inconsistent. Apart from the fact that he is obsessed with impressing the girl at that restaurant,
Yeah.
and you can see it's building. I mean, this is and it maybe will be wrong, but it's clearly building. I'm guessing towards them having some kind of relationship because she's like the guy. She's the person who it's implied sort of sees through the facade of the steely Premier League manager, but also
But you know
found
what's
him
behind that facade,
semi-endearing.
Eddie? A prick, an absolute asshole. That's what I don't get. Because what they've shown you is in last year, his like when you went down into his raw emotions, he was an enormous asshole.
Oh yeah, no,
That's the
there's
person he was. So like that's what I don't like about this is that they're now kind of heel turning to be like, no, he's a really like thoughtful, nice, caring person inside, but he's putting up this facade of being a jerk. It's like, no, it's the opposite. In season 2, when he broke down and he was as raw as you get, that emotion was not nice or kind. It was I absolutely hate and despise you, and I'm so vindictive, I'm gonna rip a sign in half.
well, yeah, and try and make out with one of my colleagues' girlfriends,
Yeah.
spit everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
no,
can't be a
you're right.
thoughtful, nice, caring person and spit on a mirror. Those two don't add up.
But no, you're not wrong. And so yeah, it's true. They're gonna clearly. I mean, we are unless they are gonna surprise us. It seems like there are several inevitabilities we're building towards. One being Nate at some point returning to AFC Richmond. Like this just feels like this is how the show has to move forward. The other being like Keely and Jamie Tart getting back together. That feels sort of
Oh,
inevitable.
really? Because I had a different take.
What was your take?
I have a feeling Keely and the her like boss or person who's investing in her, there was like a little connection there.
Oh, you think they're gonna go lesbian
I
on
don't know if
the
they're going to do that, but I definitely felt an energy.
well, if they're gonna be in a relationship, it's gonna be a lesbian one. Otherwise, it gets super complicated. And look, I'm also gonna say this. One of our criticisms, they introduced this huge plot point of the gay teammate, the gay team member, previous episode. This episode, there was one moment when he made a comment about Zava being his or something, which was kind of a callback to the joke about him wanting to sleep with him or whatever, when they made the homophobic jokes. But aside from that, that plot line not progressed at all. And it's just like, this is the thing. There's too many storylines going on simultaneously. And I don't know if I care about any of them. I don't know if I care that much about Ted Lasso and his family, his sponge of a son, his wife, who seems like, honestly, a piece of shit. Like, she's slept with their marriage counselor and just lost all interest in their marriage just because he moved away for a job for a while. And she didn't want to move there, I guess.
Well,
Like,
they were already. I think they were already separated.
they were, I don't think they were initially
Yeah,
set. I
yeah.
think they were,
No,
I think
because
they
they
were,
were in a marriage council thing. I think they were kind of already separated.
I don't think they were set. I think they were not going through a good patch.
I thought the implication was this is part of the reason why I took the job was to give her distance. Right? Wasn't that what
Maybe,
he
but
said?
they made the official separation during the course of the show because that was season 1. That was like a moment when he was like, no, now my marriage is over.
Yeah.
So again, she doesn't come across as great to me. The kid, I mean, like, I'm not losing any sleep over that kid if I'm him. Like, I would be happy to not have to engage in those cardboard conversations. And then everything else, I don't really care about Keely's business.
Yeah,
I
this
don't
has been a
care.
stupid plot line. Like that other
I
character they've introduced. I don't.
I don't.
The only funny line from that is when Roy said it's nice to put a name to the hair. That's been the only worthwhile reason for having her there
You
for
love
that
that
one
line.
joke. I love that
That's
joke.
two podcasts you've had to bring that joke up. Um, but yeah, no, there's just so many storylines. And it's just too many characters. And then there's characters who were significant before who kind of aren't anymore. I'm sure there will be again, but like Danny, just a passenger so far in the series. And I know that part of it will be they're going to try and give everyone sufficient screen time that they come out of the like Ted Lasso experience having really boosted their career. And you can tell there's that sort of ensemble commitment to providing everyone with that chance to shine. I'm sure also part of it is certain members of the show may have had, as a result of the success, maybe more involved in other projects, and then that limits their availability for Ted Lasso. So there's probably the balance of like, oh, he's off making this TV show or this movie now, so we can't have as many storylines around him as he's not super available. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I still, I like it. I'm not, again, it feels like we always have to say this. Like, I don't hate the show, but if this was my first introduction to it, if season 3 is when I was starting, I'd be out.
Yeah, it's definitely not as good as it was in season one for sure. Unfortunately, um, and I think I agree with you. I think it's just there's trying to do too much in a 30-minute 10 episode show. If you told me this was either an hour or it was a normal sitcom of 18 episodes, then I think, yeah, you have the ability to kind of string together a few episodes that are mainly on this character or that character and kind of go back and forth. But when it's only 10, 30-minute episodes, and it might even be 8, because the first season was 8, and then they did 10 the second season because they wanted 2 more. So let's say 8 to 10. Like, that's not a lot of time, especially to be introducing new characters. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and the episodes are a bit. Some of them are they're weird lengths too. I think this one was like 45 minutes. That's you just get odd moments of it, but yeah, it's just a lot, and it does also make it hard to remember. I mean, as you just experienced, but kind of hard to remember some of the things that all of these people like. The only simple one to follow, only two simple ones, I guess, in a sense. It's like Jamie Tartt's really easy to follow because he's got nothing else going on. He just football. Roy Kent is simple because it's football and then that one relationship. That's it. Seemingly his niece, she's gone. She got told the relationship was over with Keeley and he doesn't take care of her anymore.
She's out. She wants
Yeah.
nothing to do with it anymore.
Her bad breath has been taken elsewhere. But yeah, it's and then but everyone else, you got footballers with restaurants and all sorts of different. Everyone's got a side business going on. It's too complicated to follow. I do, as a final little combination of golf though and TV, I did see Scotty Scheffler interviewed, and Scotty Scheffler claims to be the biggest Office fan in the world. He took a test. He was pretty impressive in his Office knowledge. So I will say, if we get, I know you are, you know, you probably put yourself in the running. You love The Office. You love the quotes and the scenes. You think you can remember everything. If we get Scotty Scheffler on the podcast, you will have to go head to head with him in
An
an
office
Office.
trivia.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think he might have you
no
beat.
problem.
He was
He
pretty
might.
impressive.
He might be one of the. He might be like Matt Fitzpatrick, but without the journal, where he can track every shot in his head, and he can also track every Office episode in his head.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was fairly impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that say that though. Like Billie Eilish is another one that where she says she's like the world's renowned expert on The Office. A lot of celebrities have that. So I'll go up against him. I don't care. Just don't give me any final season because that wasn't The Office. It's got to be only Michael Scott Office. Don't post Michael Scott me.
Well, no, you can't limit it that way. Then you don't get to call yourself. No, you can
because it wasn't a show anymore. It wasn't The Office after Michael Scott left.
But maybe, we had that discussion the other day about which was harder, the 147, the 3 perfect score in bowling and all that. One of the other common discussion points is how far away do you think, if you could pick your distance for every hole at Augusta? It's fixed, though. So if you say 100 yards, you're starting every hole 100 yards out. How close would you have to get before you think you could win the Masters? Like if you obviously if you said I'm a foot away, you're winning the Masters, right? Like what's the furthest distance you could get before you think you don't have a chance of winning?
What 12 under?
12 under, yeah. So you need to average. Let's say you got to go 4 under every round to probably win it. Historically, if you can get 16 under, you're winning almost every year.
Like, I don't know, 50 yards.
You think you'd win from 50 yards? Because I don't think.
Yeah, because especially on the par fives. On the par fives, that's giving me at least an eagle opportunity.
Well, yeah, it's giving you an eagle opportunity, but then think like those greens are so tough, right? So
those greens are pretty tough.
From 50 yards, you're going to miss the green sometimes because that's just going to happen.
Oh, but if I play it right, I don't go for the pin. I go to just like I'm like almost like I'm lag putting, but like lag swinging.
Yeah, but you still then so say with your tactic, you're 50 yards out and you're just going to put yourself in the heart of the green,
right in the middle of the green every time.
You're going to leave yourself a 40-foot putt on rapid greens.
Yeah, hope to 3-putt.
So that gets you a birdie on a par 5, which they're getting anyway on most of the par 5s. So you're not winning that hole. Like there's no advantage.
But that puts me 4 under.
Yeah, well, assuming you then par the rest of them. You sure you're going to par every par 3 from 50 yards out?
I think for the par 3s that I bogey, I can equal that with a birdie on a par 4.
I think 50 yards. I think 50 yards is outrageously confident.
I don't think it's that confident. You just have to have a good short game. I got soft hands.
I gotta be honest. I think to be totally like confident I could win, like life on the line, I've got to be on the green to start with, I think.
Oh, that's crazy. Out of all of your predictions, this is too far the other way. Now you're trying to compensate. You've read the Twitter and you're like, oh crap, people think I'm a big bullshitter. I'm going to throw out a scenario. I'm going to wait to see what Frank says, and I'm going to go the other way and make me seem really, really realistic to a fault.
I wouldn't say this about every golf tournament, but the Masters, when you just see how quick those greens are, how challenging those greens are, I just think if I put myself 50 yards away and I'm putting myself on the green, I'm going to have moments. I'm going to have tons of moments where I try and chip on and the ball just rolls back to my feet. I'm going to get a bogey, double bogey, probably every round. And then that means I'm not going to win. And so, like, I'll put it this way. Even if you put me on the green, I know I'm going to get a bogey sometimes. Just because of the challenge of some of those putts. So, like, if you're telling me I could start on the green, I'm probably still getting a bogey occasionally. Like, I'm obviously not saying 10 feet away, but
50 feet?
Yeah, 50 feet I'm winning. 50 yards, I don't think I'm winning.
I think you could win 50 yards.
Oh.
The tough part would be, can I place it anywhere I want for that 50 yards?
You're on the
because there
fairway.
are some okay,
You
but
don't get to
like
you don't get to tactically. You don't get to like
yeah,
line
that could
up.
make it a little tougher because there are some holes where there is some danger.
Yes. No, no, no. You don't get to like a tee box is going to be constructed for you in that like a golf course designer in a sense is going to make the hole playable.
Okay, then let me
From there.
drop it to 45 yards.
So like if there's water around the
Yeah.
green, you don't get to go, well, let me put myself 50, like I'm actually going to play it from 50 yards away, but technically in
I mean, I
like
did win our mini golf challenge, so my short game is solid.
yes, then that is how Jon Rahm warmed up for the Masters this year.
Yeah, he went to a really fancy putt putt.
Yeah, busy week, but good weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's all we got. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.